morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Clendenning with Weiner Benefits Group. We are very excited to be able to bring you a state representative from Delaware to talk through the EARNS Act. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and so we can get started. All right. I'm going to have Louis Memolo introduce us.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everybody. My name's Louis Memolo. I'm one of the partners here along with Mike Reckner. I'm also an investment advisor and a fiduciary. There's two things that I would like you to know about Weiner Benefits Group. We are your trusted advisor, and we love building long-term relationships with folks. We are your trusted advisor by providing you, by being accountable, personable, accessible, and proactive. And we love building long-term relationships with objectivity, integrity, and expertise. This approach provides a sense of well-being, peace, financial security from hire to retire. And when we talk about what we do from hire to retirement, that provides a sense of financial well-being, we look at the basics in your health and welfare, your employee benefits, medical, dental, life, and all the administrative programs that administer that for you and your employees. And then we also work with you on your qualified employer-sponsored retirement plans at every level as fiduciaries, and building investment menus, financial planning, individual wealth management, and then individual coverage that provides individuals with financial security through life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care. So our whole approach provides that from hire to retire sense of financial well-being and security. And then on the next slide, we have a great team of professionals to work with you in order to provide all of these services. Of course, myself and my partner, Mike Reckner, Wendy, our account executive on benefits, along with James Barker, account executives on benefits. Our financial services team, who are also qualified plan fiduciaries, Stephanie Clendenning, Tom Gillibo. And then we have our account managers, Allison and Lacey, and administrative services and account support services with Jen Knoll and Laura Cheesem. And Matt Moody is one of our client service representatives. We also have customer service and claims support through Adele Taylor. So the point here is we have a very large and awesome team to support all of your needs from hire to retire. So I'm not going to take any of our guests' thunder here, but in general, we're here to learn about the Delaware EARNS Act. And this is a great program to support those that don't have employer-sponsored retirement plans already in place. And then I'm just going to let Stephanie Clendenning introduce our guest and cover all of the other bullet points for the program today. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Just a couple things before we get started. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A and chat feature. We will be watching that throughout the session. I will stop Ted if we have a lot of questions in one area, or we will wait until the end to address some more questions. And just a reminder that Weiner Benefits Group is here to help you customize your retirement plan to fit the needs of your organization. So please feel free to use this as a resource after the webinar today. I am going to stop my share and go ahead and introduce Ted. Ted Griffith is the program director for the Delaware EARNS Act program, and we are really lucky to have him here today to talk us through the details.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Really appreciate this opportunity. As was said, my name is Ted Griffith, a program director for Delaware EARNS. Delaware EARNS is a new retirement savings program sponsored by the Office of the State Treasurer for private sector workers who don't have access to a retirement savings plan through their job, the payroll contributions. So I can imagine, I'm just guessing that some people on this call might be hearing new state program and there might be some apprehension. This is a different kind of state program. Number one, again, it's not about providing any kind of benefits to state employees. This is to reach private sector folks who don't have an opportunity to save through their jobs. I think you can also say it's a different kind of government program because it doesn't benefit just one constituency. It's going to benefit the entire state. So number one, for our workers, obviously being able to save for retirement through payroll, that gives them a pathway to greater economic security in the future. For our employers, very importantly, for employers that don't have the employer-sponsored qualified retirement plan, might not necessarily have the wherewithal to offer such a plan. We are able to provide access to this with no fees to the employer. We do not charge employers any fees. And then third, I imagine most of us on this call are Delaware taxpayers. This ultimately, if we can all work together, if you'll help me in reaching folks, if we can make this a success over time, it will take time, but over time, this will save tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of dollars over a long period of time. And that makes sense if you think about it, because if people go into retirement with a healthy nest egg, they're going to be that much less dependent on expensive government services. And one other point of background is I imagine there might be some questions of, well, why is a state stepping into something that has traditionally been the domain exclusively of private sector employers? And the answer is, it's because we're facing a retirement savings crisis, as you might imagine. And we're seeing many states, Delaware is by no means the first to do this. There are 9 other states that currently have plans up and running, and in some cases for many years. Most of our neighbors now are doing this: Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey. And really, again, it comes down to this retirement savings crisis. Probably most of us are not saving enough for retirement, but a significant part of the population is not saving anything whatsoever. So that's a demographic time bomb that will go off every year when people reach retirement. What my boss, Treasurer Davis, has encouraged us to do, she doesn't want us just forecasting rain, saying, hey, there's this problem. She wants us to come up with an arc, find a solution for this problem. And one of the things that really will move the needle, really will improve the situation, is giving people payroll access to save for retirement. It's been demonstrated. Our friends at the AARP did research, and they showed that if you have a chance to save for retirement through payroll, you are 15 times more likely to do so. All right, for the balance of the presentation, I really want to get into the specifics of how this applies to employers, what employers have to do, and also how it applies to employees. As Stephanie said, welcome your questions, obviously today, but also you'll have all my contact information at the end, and look forward to any questions in the future as well. So from the employer standpoint, this is a mandatory program if you meet the 3 criteria that you can see here on the screen. So you have 5 or more Delaware W-2 employees, full or part-time, and you do not offer a qualified retirement plan such as a 401k or a simple IRA or so forth. And you've been in business at least 6 months, you are required to facilitate the Delaware EARNS program. We often get questions from employers about, well, what would qualify me to be exempt? And it's the standard list of these qualified retirement plans, which I imagine many folks are at least somewhat familiar with. This list is also on our website, but again, it's the standard list. I should also say, if you offer a 401k, you're completely exempt from this. So in some cases, a 401k can allow you to exclude part-time workers who would not be excluded from EARNS. You're still completely exempt from the EARNS requirement. If you have one of these plans in place, you're completely exempt from EARNS. I think this is also a good opportunity to point out that in no way, shape, or form is the Delaware EARNS program designed to compete with or displace private sector retirement plans. The goal here is to just give people an opportunity to save for retirement through payroll. If you have a qualified retirement plan in place, that is wonderful. That's the goal of the whole exercise. Please keep that and you're exempt. And just also wanted to mention too, just around the requirements on the employee side, again, it's if you have 5 or more W-2 employees, and this could be full or part-time, you would be required to facilitate EARNS. It's driven by the W-2. One other thing, and I'm happy to in the Q&A, happy to delve into this more if you like. There is in a sense, a seasonal exemption as well. So if somebody does not, under our regulations, if somebody does not work for you more than 120 consecutive calendar days, they're not in your employ. Not that they have to work every day in that 120 period, but they're not in your employ for more than 120 consecutive calendar days. They would not need to be enrolled in EARNS. So we're trying to give some ability to exclude, somebody who's truly seasonal. They just work down at the beach, for example, June through August. It works out to about 4 months. So if they don't work for you more than 4 months, they can also be excluded. All right, and continuing on how this impacts employees. So as I said, for employers, certain employers that meet the 3 criteria we were discussing earlier, mandatory program. At the employee level, this is always absolutely voluntary. The employees do not have to participate. However, it's voluntary on an opt-out basis. What I mean by that is employees have to actively opt out of the program. Otherwise, a contribution equal to 5% of their gross paycheck, 5% of their gross paycheck will go into their Roth IRA if they don't opt out. So it's voluntary. The employees do not have to participate if they're unable to, but they have to opt out. We sometimes get questions as to why did you do it that way versus the other way around, and really this auto enrollment aspect, this auto IRA, that is increasingly best practice in retirement planning. I spent a good part of my career involved with retirement planning, and as many of you may know, that has really emerged as the trend with 401ks. You automatically enroll people because you have to give them a nudge to get saving for retirement. And this is the very timely presentation that Weiner Benefits is bringing to you because this is kind of the key time for Delaware EARNS. We opened up for employers to register. So employers need to go to earnsdelaware.com for the registration. We opened up July 1 for that. The deadline it's actually sneaking up on us pretty quickly. The deadline to register is October 15th, just coming up. So less than a month, October 15th. I want to take you through, I'll be taking you through the registration process, but just one other kind of quick clarification. As a new program, there are bound to be some misconceptions about this. One of the things that I have heard is the state is requiring employers to purchase a retirement plan. That's not exactly right. The state is requiring you to either facilitate Delaware EARNS, or you can, if you like, if it works better for your organization, absolutely, set up the 401k, the 403b, what have you. But you could facilitate Delaware EARNS, and again, we would not charge you for it. All right, I want to walk you through the employer's responsibilities, and these are the 3 key steps And they're all revolve around payroll. So number one is the registration, going to earnsdelaware.com. Secondly, would be every time you run payroll, you're taking the contributions and sending those in electronically. And then you have to just maintain things going forward. Obviously, as people are coming and going from your employee, that needs to get updated. So just taking you through each step. So first step is registration. Please go to earnsdelaware.com. You put in your EIN, and you should have also received a code, a specific unique code for your business. You enter those both in. Now, I have heard people have not received the letters with the code in many cases. That is not a problem, as you might expect. You go to the website, you put in your EIN. If you don't have the code, there's a little link there that says, you can get your code just by putting in your EIN. And that should work. If that fails, it's not a problem either. You can just write in to us, and I'll show you the email address at the end, or call up the call center, and they'll generate a code for you. So that's not, if you don't have the code, it's not a deal breaker. Don't worry. All right, so you've put in the EIN, you've gotten the code, you're in. You will see an employer portal. This is basically your account as the employer on earnsdelaware.com, just like you normally would. You set up the ID and password. You provide some basic information about your business, your payroll process. You link up with your bank so that the contributions can be pulled. And then the last piece of this first step of the registration is uploading, and it's a very secure website, but uploading information about your employees, including social security numbers, so that we then take the next step. Once you've completed registration, including uploading information about your employees, next step is on us. We go ahead and open up Roth IRA accounts for everybody on staff that you uploaded. We then take charge of communicating to those employees. Email, if email is provided, letter, if we just have an address, to let them know that they have been enrolled in Delaware EARNS, and unless they opt out within 30 days, contributions to their Roth IRA will start. Again, equivalent to 5% of their gross check will go into a Roth IRA starting, it would actually be probably more than 30 days, but at least 30 days from when they receive the notification. They can easily opt out during that period. They can also opt out later, but at that point, contributions will have gone into the Roth. All right, so then at the end of that 30-day period after the initial registration, that's when the employer comes back into the picture. You do have to create in the payroll system a contribution, a deduction basically from payroll for this. And again, you'll be working through your employer portal at earnsdelaware.com. We will also be communicating with you. You'll receive an email from us. Remember, I said you entered information about your payroll schedule, payroll process at the beginning. We will send you an email 4 days before you're due to run payroll with any changes that have been made by folks. And again, also that information is also front and center in that secure portal that you're using at earnsdelaware.com. And you then, just like you normally would with payroll, I've had some people say, an example, if you added the HSA, you're just taking that additional contribution for those who have not opted out from the program. And that's the payroll piece of it. I should say too, what I'm describing here is kind of the most manual you would have to do. In some cases, there are payroll providers, and again, I'd encourage you to go to earnsdelaware.com and check this out, but you'll find on the website, there's a list of payroll providers that have a more integrated system with us that depending on how it's done, would sort of take some of the responsibilities off you as the employer for sending in the contributions. You can also, if you arrange with your payroll provider, once you've registered and you've gotten in, you can actually designate a third party to just administer this for you. So what I'm walking you through is, if you will, the most administration you would need to do. So you're sending those payroll contributions. Obviously, it's not a one-time thing, right? Every time you run payroll, you need to be sending those contributions. And inevitably, as people come and go, you need to make sure that the roster stays up to date. Those who have left your employee, you no longer have to worry about them, obviously, but those who have joined, you need to register them, and you need to send in those contributions. So registration is very important, but equally important, you have to do all three of these steps to be in compliance. You have to, run the initial payroll, create the deduction, and then you have to maintain it as well. But that's it. Those are the responsibilities. They all revolve around payroll. Again, we do not charge you any fees. You're not responsible for paying any fees for this. You will not be doing any matching. For certain legal reasons, it's not allowed. So if you're interested in doing the match, that kind of points you down the road of the private sector plan, the 401k or so forth. There's no matching with this. Further, this is a little bit of a technicality, but because this is state sponsored, the employer has a lesser degree of liability. This is not an employer-sponsored retirement plan. All right, coming back to the employees. Again, as I said, we will really drive communication to the employees, letting them know about this. Once they're enrolled, they'll get communications about their quarterly statements. If they take a withdrawal, they get documentation of that. And these are Roth IRAs in every respect. So the eligibility requirements apply. The contribution limits also that you see, those are the contribution limits for a Roth IRA or any type of IRA for calendar 2024. All right, so just as we have really strived to make this as least burdensome as we can on the employers, likewise, that's the path we're taking with employees. And I think of this as kind of an easy path or a default path. Again, coming back to best thinking in retirement planning, you have to remove any kind of friction between the person and the actual act of saving. Otherwise, they're liable to drop out. So again, as you can tell, a lot of this is driven on an automatic default system. So if they don't take any action, the Roth IRA gets open for them. A 5% contribution level, 5% of the gross check gets set. And then where does that money go? It goes into a target date retirement mutual fund, obviously an appropriate investment for long-term retirement investing. In our case, it's provided by State Street Global Advisors, which is one of the world's largest asset managers. So that's the default path. If they don't do anything, that's what happens. Of course, there will be some savers, some employees who want to customize things, and that is not a problem. We welcome that. They can fill out a form if they want to do the traditional pre-tax IRA. That's not a problem. We can certainly accommodate that. They can also vary that 5%. They're not locked into exclusively 5%. As you may know, as you probably know, in truth, ideally, you're saving like 10-15% for retirement. We understand, in many cases, that's not realistic. That's why we set it at 5. We understand 5% may not be realistic for some folks. That's why they can opt out if they need to. But what I'm really encouraging the savers to consider doing is, hey, at least try to do 1%. Then you're starting to build that habit. You're creating that foothold to save for retirement. Likewise, on the investment side, if they want to, they can customize their mix of investments. I got to go back. So I believe I've touched on every one of these points. I do want to just amplify a little bit on the Roth IRA. I said at the outset of this is a different kind of government program. It's also a different kind of retirement program in that the foundation of it is the Roth IRA, which is out of the ordinary. As you may know, typically with your 401k, it's a pre-tax contribution. And I would say in a sense, the Roth IRA is almost the sort of secret sauce for Delaware EARNS. For the particular audience we're trying to reach, the folks that have not been able to contribute to their better future through work, the Roth IRA is ideal for three reasons. Number one, it's highly portable, as you may know. If the Roth IRA is almost universal, you could move it anywhere you want. It's very easy. Nicely for the employers too, once somebody leaves your employ, you don't have to worry about it's with the Delaware EARNS program. It's not with you. It's not your responsibility to keep track of former employees and what to do about their account. That's on us. Secondly, coming back to the point that obviously folks are under a lot of financial pressure. We've seen a big jump in inflation. We recognize that, and we recognize that there would be urgent situations in which somebody would need to tap into that money. One of the nice things about a Roth IRA, with after-tax contributions, an individual can access up to the amount that they've contributed at any time without taxes or penalties. If you contribute $100 to a Roth IRA, you can pull that $100 out at any time without taxes and penalties. Third, and perhaps most powerfully, there are some really great long-term tax benefits associated with the Roth IRA. And what I mean by that is once you get to retirement age, or technically speaking, 59 and a half, or about retirement age, or approaching it anyway, and you've had the account open long enough, not only are you able to withdraw contributions, your original contributions tax and penalty free, you are also able to withdraw all the earnings free of federal income tax, free of state income tax. And what that sets up is the possibility that even if somebody never made a lot of money during their career, but if we reach them early enough and they saved consistently, say $40 a week for their working life, they're looking at, we would anticipate hundreds of thousands of dollars in that account when they get to the end of their career, that they're then able to draw on, as I said, completely tax-free. And so Treasurer Davis often says, we do have the potential to really change people's lives with this. And just lastly, I would also say, we often get questions, well, in effect, is the boss or is the employer able to participate in this as well? Obviously, if you're W-2, that's great. And there are certain requirements for a Roth IRA, and you can never make any sort of blanket statements about, what's the right way to go financially, depending on the situation. But I would say if you are eligible for a Roth IRA, it is worth considering if you should contribute to one, if you meet the eligibility requirements. A little bit of history, there have been times in this country's history when you've seen marginal tax rates as high as 90%, the top marginal rate, high as 90%. If we were ever in that kind of tax regime again, obviously it would be a great thing to have money saved in a Roth IRA. All right, so thank you again for listening. Just a quick recap. Just to make very clear, this applies to private sector employers. So that obviously is our small businesses, our great small businesses, but also our great nonprofits. We have a lot of great nonprofits here in Delaware. This does apply to them. The nonprofits, they need to facilitate this if they meet that criteria, 5 or more W-2 employees and no qualified retirement plan. It is a mandatory program, So there is the potential for penalties for non-compliance. But I want to make clear, and Treasurer Davis wants to make clear, we are really doing this in the spirit of partnership. This is not meant to be a punitive thing. I don't see any reason why, if you were required to facilitate this, you wouldn't, because admittedly, there's a little bit of additional administration, but we're not charging you any fees. We're not imposing any liability on you. And it's a competitive benefit that you can offer to attract and retain workers. So my hope is that it never comes to this with the penalties. And then I'll leave this information up for you. This is also, of course, on the website, earnsdelaware.com. I really look forward to your questions now. But if you're like me, you always think of the question like the day after the day after the guy gives the presentation. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. Please, we're here. We welcome your questions. So that first email that you see, that's for any kind of, once as you're setting up, or you have any questions, or employees have any questions, they can use that email. The nice thing about this is we have a great responsive private sector company that's running the website, administering things, running the call center. They're expert in this area. A company called Vestwell, they are the administrator for 10 states. I think I mentioned 10 states have active programs. The company we're using is administrator for 8 of the 10. So they really know what they're doing. However, there is also public oversight of this. It's sponsored by the Office of the State Treasurer. We are overseeing them. So if there's any issues, I hope there won't be any serious issues, but if there are any issues, there's public oversight of this. Write to us at earns@delaware.com, at delaware.gov, forgive me, earns@delaware.gov. That comes right to us in the Treasurer's office, to me and my colleagues, and we'll happy to answer any questions or address any concerns. Likewise, the call center is up and running. You see there's different numbers for employers and savers to call. We often get feedback that, hey, folks are exclusively Spanish speaking, working for me. That is not a problem. It's a bilingual call center, so Spanish employers or Spanish employees fully supported. Likewise, the website, a good part of the website is available in Spanish too. And then lastly, again, my name is Ted Griffith, EARNS Program Director. Look forward to your questions now and going forward. And again, Louis and Mike and Stephanie and Tom, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thanks for hearing me out, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Ted. We appreciate your help and the detail in your presentation today. As of right now, I don't have any questions in the chat or Q&A.
Okay.
Mike or Louis, Tom, did you have any input or anything you'd like to add? All right, well, Ted, thank you so much for your time. Everyone on the call, thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out to us at Weiner Benefits Group. We're happy to assess your situation and talk through your options for retirement planning and help, guide you through any questions. All right, have a great day.
Thank you so much again. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ted. Thank you, everybody.